So the next article I wanted to look at is titled Trust the Plan? QAnon conspiracy theorist Deanna Lorraine is having doubts. If you guys don't remember who Deanna Lorraine is, she works for InfoWars as a reporter, quote unquote, a correspondent, I guess, or whatever. Total nutcase. Has deep problems. QAnon supporter, obviously, as mentioned in the title here. But I think that her faith in QAnon is waning. So let's read the article and see what it says. It's by Kyle Mintila. In the wake of former President Donald Trump's loss in the 2020 election, QAnon conspiracy theorist Deanna Lorraine has begun to question the legitimacy of the QAnon movement and its insistence that regardless of what happens, everyone must continue to trust the plan. Lorraine, who is an ardent Trump cultist from early on, used her live stream Wednesday night to voice her doubts about QAnon and the rationality of continuing to blindly trust a plan that has failed to accomplish anything or produce a single bit of evidence to prove that it's real. Lorraine said that she would love nothing more than for the QAnon plan to be true and to see Joe Biden arrested and Trump reinstalled as president. But she said, we have to be realistic at the same time and look at what the reality is that's in front of us today. I know QAnon made a lot of claims about what was going to happen, about how Trump is going to be reinstalled as the dictator or whatever. And they kept pushing it back and moving the goalpost. They kept saying they're not going to certify the results of the states on December 14th. When they did, it turned to January 6th. The Congress isn't going to certify the results that have already been certified by the states. It's not going to happen. January 6th rolls around, and sure enough, it happened. And their last claim, as far as I can remember, was on January 20th. It's a very specific claim. Joe Biden is going to be arrested by military leaders during the inauguration. Before he gets sworn in, he's going to be arrested by military leaders. And Donald Trump is going to remain president. As if that's what would happen. Like, that's not how the process works at all. They have no understanding of how it works. Anyways, that was their last claim, right? Well, they have a new one now. It's very, very complicated. But basically, they believe that in March, Trump is going to become the president. And there is some train of logic behind it that's kind of flimsy. The original Constitution and the original federal government that was set up in like the 1700s, it ceased to exist after like the 1860s when the Civil War actually took place and was replaced by a corporation, like a private company, basically, is what they believe. It's not true. But that's what they think. It's a conspiracy theory about it. And they think that we haven't had a real president since before the Civil War took place. So they think that what's going to happen next is Trump is going to be like the 19th president or whatever. He's going to be the first president that the U.S. has had since before the Civil War. And they believe that that's going to happen in March. It's a huge conspiracy theory, and it's nuts, but that's their next claim. That's QAnon's next claim. So Deanna Lorraine, I guess, is kind of bucking against that idea. So let's give this clip a watch and see what she said.
People are getting upset at me, some people, because they think, Deanna, you need to just trust the plan. You need to continue to trust the plan. And Q said to trust the plan. President Trump is just waiting for the right moment to pounce and make his attack, and everything's going to be taken care of. The military is going to arrest Joe Biden.
I think she's referring to the inauguration, but I believe that Q and others were claiming that Biden was going to be arrested by the military even before the inauguration. But they kept pushing it back, pushing it back, pushing it back because it wasn't happening. They kept claiming it would be later and later and later. And here we are after inauguration. Dude's the president now. What else can you do? He's not. He is in control of the military. He's not going to be arrested by them.
Over, and then Trump will be back in charge soon. And I want that to happen. I pray for that to happen. I'm hoping that this happens. And who I mean, I've been a follower of this idea and this plan since day one for years, and I've had President Trump's back for since day one and sacrificed a lot for it. Lots of family, friends, work, money, everything.
You shouldn't be sacrificing things for an ideology. Like that's really disturbing to me. Like, is that disturbing to anybody else? You pick up a belief system or an ideology or like a set of behaviors or whatever, and everybody around you suddenly doesn't want to talk to you anymore. Like, I don't know, that's kind of concerning. In my case, when I left Jehovah's Witnesses, I wasn't picking up an ideology, I was leaving one behind. I wasn't picking up a new set of behaviors, I was leaving the extreme stuff behind. In this case, she was picking up new extreme stuff. It made the people around her uncomfortable, or she decided to cut ties with them, one or the other, I don't know. But if you're picking up like extreme behaviors at all, or extreme beliefs, you may want to do a little bit of introspection, seriously.
But we also have to be realistic at the same time and look at what the reality is that's in front of us today. And I, for one, am sick of just looking at clues and taking guesses and kind of following down a rabbit hole where it leads to nothing. And there's just a lot of broken promises that are not delivered. There is a lot of hopium that never gets fulfilled.
I wonder how far this goes for her. Like, this is something that you can find in the Republican Party too, right? Not just among the Trump cult, not just among the QAnon cult, but with the Republican Party more broadly. It's like a party of conspiracy theorists at this point, right? How far out of the rabbit hole has she climbed? Has she climbed all the way out of even the Republican rabbit hole? Probably not. But why did she stop where she did? Why did she draw the line there? Why didn't she keep climbing? Why didn't she just continue to question and apply skepticism to everything that she believes right now? Like tax policy, healthcare policies, everything. Why didn't she apply it more broadly? Her whole world is crumbling around her right now because everything that she has ever believed is coming into question. And I find that so sad for her. I'm really glad that she's trying to dig her way out of this hole. But I don't believe she's going to dig her way out enough. I think she's going to continue to be a right-wing extremist, even if it's not a QAnon nutcase or a Trump cultist. I think she's going to continue down this path anyways.
And I want to, you can hope for something to happen and pray for a miracle to happen for a country, but you can also look at the facts in front of us today and the reality and be grounded in that reality at the same time so that you can prepare your heart and you can prepare your life accordingly. I mean, I think that's the only smart thing to do. That's what a patriot does. And also, a patriot doesn't blindly follow a plan. The only person that we should blindly follow is God, is Jesus.
Okay, I guess she didn't decide to try to dig herself out of that hole. That's really, really interesting, though. Suddenly she's talking about facts and not blindly following a plan and stuff like that. It's kind of a shame that religion and politics are so inextricably linked in the U.S. right now, thanks to evangelicalism. Evangelicalism is the reason why this happened. And I have no doubt she's an evangelical. She probably routes back from one of the evangelical denominations. That's probably where the clawing out of the rabbit hole thing, that's probably where it's going to stop, is at God and her evangelical belief system.
But we shouldn't be blindly following anything or anyone, especially when there's no evidence for that plan ever materializing, right? And that's we can point, and every time that this plan was supposed to happen, or Trump was supposedly playing 5D chess and supposedly setting traps or about to do this. No, at no point in the last 4 years has that trap ever been closed. Has the chess move ever been checkmated by Trump? No, none of these hopes and ideas have ever been fulfilled. Not one. So a smart person looks at the evidence, looks at historical evidence, looks at a track record, and doesn't keep doing or wishing something that has no evidence for it being able to materialize. I mean, I think any honest and intelligent person should feel that way.
That's fascinating. We're basically sitting here watching somebody break out of an extremist ideology. Like, we're watching her work her way out of this actively. I feel for this person so much. Like, I wish that I could sit down and have a conversation with this chick so that we could hash out all the misunderstandings and all the questions and everything else, and maybe bring her to a more rational conclusion in life. I really wish we could find a way to reach some of these people, but I feel like Trump and QAnon and all of these other ideologies falling flat on their face on January 20th, I feel like that's a huge step in the right direction. They're fucked. These organizations and these ideologies have made outright factual claims that are either true or they are false. And that is the one mistake that every cult in history knows you don't make. Don't make predictions with specific claims and specific dates that can be proven false. Make claims that are kind of amorphous and just kind of out there that can't be proven true or false. Like Jehovah's Witnesses saying Armageddon's right around the corner. It's going to happen one of these days. Any 5 minutes now, it's going to happen. But nobody knows the day or the time. That is how cults are supposed to make predictions. Stuff that can't be proven false. Trump and QAnon went the wrong way with this and fucked up, made the common mistake every new cult makes. And they're paying the price for it. We can see them paying the price for it right now with this chick right here on screen, coming to the realization that they were full of shit all along. And not only that, this chick has notoriety. People follow her. They know who she is. She is a correspondent for InfoWars. And FYI, if InfoWars is fucking big, whether we like that or not, they have millions of followers. They shouldn't. They're conspiracy theorists, but that's what it is. They do. And this chick is doing the Lord's work by destroying the idea that Trump and QAnon knew what they were talking about all along. That's not where the story ends, though. There is a Friendly Atheist article about this written by Beth Stoneburner. The title is QAnon Advocate Admits There's No Evidence for That Plan Ever Materializing, quote unquote. So let's give the article a read and see what it says. While many conspiracy theorists are still holding strong despite the overwhelming evidence that their fantasy world isn't real, one of them is beginning to crack. Conservative activist and former ringleader for the QAnon movement, Deanna Lorraine, who recently said she wouldn't get a COVID-19 vaccine even if Jesus were to take it, is finally starting to doubt the trust the plan mantra. Better late than never, I suppose? It would mean more, though, if she ditched all the conspiracies instead of doubting just one of them. The evidence against her beliefs has been there all along. It takes a certain kind of willful ignorance and a heavy dose of cognitive dissonance to act like it isn't there. She could actually provide a useful service by helping other Q followers leave the bubble, but her entire career has been built on getting conspiracists to follow her. It's hard to imagine she'd abandon that formula now. That's true, but the fact that she's abandoning QAnon in such clear terms, and Trump in such clear terms, that's a good sign. I mean, she said, we shouldn't blindly follow anything or anyone, especially when there's no evidence for that plan ever materializing. Every time that this plan was supposed to happen, or Trump was supposedly playing 5D chess and supposedly setting traps are about to do this, at no point in the last 4 years has that trap ever been closed. Has that chess move ever been checkmated by Trump? None of these hopes and ideas have ever been fulfilled. Not one. That's a big fucking deal. This person is not a nobody. And now we have the leaders of movements, of these conspiracy movements, coming out and saying they are disillusioned with the situation and they're unhappy with it. That is really good news. The fact that she's coming out and basically disavowing Q means that she was a true believer all along. When the ringleaders of conspiracy theories are real, genuine believers, I feel that we are in a pretty bad fucking place. I would rather they be disingenuous liars so that they can give it up at some point. It's like Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example, the new congresswoman in the House of Representatives. She's a true believer. Now we have true believers in there. People who were brainwashed by people like Donald Trump or Ted Cruz or whoever else. They are now the leaders of the movement and moving it in the direction they want it to go. That seems kind of scary to me.